Okay, so we're now back with lesson 2, and I just want to talk a little bit about where we're going. So, if you were working from the textbook, you would see that the textbook goes through sorting arrays, searching arrays. You can do a whole bunch of things with arrays, and it's very useful, important. You definitely need to know that. But given time constraints, I like to move straight onto arrays of objects. And then we do the sorts, searches, and all the rest of it with arrays of objects. It means that you end up practicing the skills you need a little bit faster because everything you're going to be doing deals with arrays of objects. So that's where we're going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through objects. I'll quickly talk through what I'm going to go through in the next couple of lessons. And if you already know objects down pat, then why don't you skip the videos and you can just skip to the next array video or lesson. But if you don't, then work through the objects, or if you want a little bit of revision and you want to just make sure you've got everything down pat. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what an object is. I'll do that in this lesson, and then it depends on how long the video goes. I'm going to talk about getters, fields in an object, getters and setters, and then toStrings. We'll do some practice, do some questions on that, and that will take us through. Once we're comfortable with, and then we'll also deal with creating another class to actually use the object. Once we're done with that and we're comfortable with objects, we're going to go back to arrays, except this time we're going to create arrays of objects. And in order to work with arrays of objects, we're going to have to learn to read from text files. And that's great because that's another thing the IEB needs. If you go and look at past papers over the years, you'll see that every question basically has a base class, then some other kind of class. It could be another base class, it could be an inherited class or something, and then we create an array of the base class, and then we use that array. And if you can get that right, you can get 60 to 70% for the PAT, 67% for your exam, maybe 70 is a little bit high, but 65% without too much effort or thought, because it's really just going through the basics that you'll know how to do very well. And then after that, it's a little bit of creative programming, which we can also practice. Just in case you were frantically checking your WhatsApp notifications, I have now muted that, but I'm not doing these professionally, so I can't guarantee that there won't be a couple more noises, whatever. So let's talk about objects and what an object is, and for that we'll switch over back to Excel. So a reminder, our base variables is something like this: int num equals 1, you have num1. An object is similar to a real-world object in that it's got fields. Those are sometimes called properties. It would be incorrect to call them variables, because it could also be an object's fields could be more objects, but don't worry about that for now. So it's fields or properties, and those are values. And then it's also got actions or methods. Okay, so let's say, for example, that we were talking about a cat, because cats are better than dogs. And so what properties might a cat have? Well, a cat might have a name. A cat might have a date of birth. Like, I think it's going to be quite hard to find a cat that doesn't have a date of birth. A cat might have a color. It might have a num legs. It might have a tail length. So any kinds of any kinds of properties or information about the cat. And you can see also what I'm doing here is I'm using camel case. So my variables are starting with a lowercase letter, but every time I start a new word, I'm giving a capital. And let's just put a little example in here. So maybe the name of your cat is, I don't know, Pickles. And the date of birth could be, let's just say the 12th of 06/2020. Okay, and let's say the color of our cat is brindled. Don't know if that's a color, but that's what I'm going with. Num legs is 4, and tail length is, let's say, 30. Fine, well, 30 centimeters or whatever. Okay, so there we go. We got some properties, and there we go. And our cat is going to have some actions. What can a cat do? Well, a cat can run. A cat can sleep. A cat can purr. A cat can complain when you give it, the wrong kind of food, or the same food you've been giving it for years, and now it's just suddenly decided it doesn't actually like it. A cat can hunt. All kinds of things. Those are just things that a cat can do. And in the context of IT, when we're doing this, we really work on a relatively boring, straightforward level with objects. And so a lot of our methods have to do with data. So a cat could change name. Oopsie. A cat could change date of birth, or change color, or you might want to know, let's get the color, or something like that. Those are things that a cat can do, and an object in programming takes exactly those things. Like all real life objects have properties and they have actions. And so what we can do is we can take an object, we can model it on that, we can give it some fields and some methods. Right, so I think that's all I'm going to tell you about objects. There are some quirks with how objects are stored in RAM. There's a very nice explanation in your textbook. You can go and look that up. It'll do you some good to flick through the pages to figure out what page it's on, because I'm certainly not doing that for you right now. But that is essentially what an object is. And I think what I'm going to do, in fact, is I'm going to run with our cat that we've got here. The only thing is, if I was teaching this for the first time and we had tons and tons and tons of time, I would actually do some fun with run, sleep, purr, complain, hunt, and all the rest of it. But I don't think I will. We're going to stick to the straightforward IEB basics, so you can pass simply and easily. Right, so I'm going to create a new package. Let's create a new package. So I'm on my learning arrays. That's my what I called my project. I really should have been a little bit more specific, but whatever. So I'm going to create a source package, new Java package, and I'm going to call it learning objects. Okay, cool. And let's create a class, and I want you to work away straight from the beginning here. I'm not doing the thing I did previously where I did wrong code. I'm going to jump straight, or stupid code. I'm going to jump straight into the correct code. So let's call this cat with 1 T. Alrighty, and so I have a class cat, and the first thing I want to do is I want to give my cat some properties. Okay, and so let's start off with a string name. Right, now I'm going to have to go back into explaining mode here. So there's this concept called information hiding, and information hiding means that you don't let random users change the values or read the values of the internal fields. Instead, you code methods to do that. We'll get to that in a second. Right now, this is a public variable, and that means any object can do anything with it. I'll show you quickly. You don't need to code this one. New Java class. I'm just going to call it cat example. Let's create a main method. All right, and I am going to create a cat. So you might think, oh, I've never created an object before, but you have. Because a string is an object. It's also a special type of object in that you actually it's the only type of object. Let's say string address equals none of your business. Okay, no deliveries for me, obviously. So my string address equals none of your business. It's the only type of object that I don't create with the new keyword, which you'll see in a couple of seconds. So you have used objects. It's possible that you've done some other ones, like maybe you used colors. So you could say color Michael equals new color. And if you know your theory, then you'll know that color has got a red, green, and blue value. And those values normally go from 0 to 255. So let's say 200, comma 50, comma 200. So that's 200 red, 50 green, 200 blue. Color is not a default class, so I'm going to want to import java.awt.star, and I'm going to do literally nothing with this color other than show you I've created an object. It has got some values. We've sent them through. And if I type mycol dot, you can see all kinds of things. So this method brighter creates a new color that's a brighter version of this color. Create context does something you don't need to worry about. Get alpha, get blue. So get blue, in our case, our blue value was 200. So if I did get blue, it will print it out. Well, yeah, let's just take a look at that. So system.out.println mycol.getBlue. Okay, and I happen to know that the first parameter you send is red, the second is green, and the third is blue. So this should print out 200 for me, and it does. Okay, so that's just a very, very basic idea there. I haven't even got to the cat example. So let's delete all of that. So let's create a cat. And our cat, there's literally nothing here. There's no constructor, which is a word you might not know yet. So we'll get to that in a second, but I can go cat. And I don't know, my pet equals new cat. Now you might notice that I'm not putting any values in here. And that's because I don't have a constructor which takes parameters, which we'll get to, so don't stress if you don't know that. But what I can do is I can go my pet dot, and you see I've got access to, as well as there's some default objects that come with all, methods that come with all objects, which we're not going to worry about at all. I've also got access to the variable. I've got access to the variable name. And let's just get rid of that for a second. I should not have got rid of the color, so I'm just going to create my color again. 200, whatever, 150, 200. And if I try mycol dot, lots of methods, not a single variable. Right, so, and as I said, we want to hide our stuff so people can't do anything with it. So the way we do that is you give it the keyword private. And effectively, I think every single field that you have to create for the IEB will be private. There are some things called constants, which are probably going to be public, but you get information about those. And, for now, we're just going to push on. You'll end up typing private so often that even if you're not quite comfortable with it, it'll become entirely familiar. Right. So our cat's got a name. I don't know if you've done dates yet, so I'm going to skip dates for now. Otherwise, I'll put a date of birth in. Let's give it a number. So we'll go int numlegs. Okay, and then I had to cut. You know what? This would have been a perfect time to use color. So why not? What values did I have? I had date of birth, color, numlegs, tail length. There we go. And let's use a double. So private double tail length. Okay. So I've now got three fields. This, or three properties. I've got name, which is a string, numlegs, which is an int, and tail length. And now that I've made everything private, you'll see that if I try to go back to my pet dot, you'll see I don't have access to any of those variables, which is not very helpful, so we need a way to work around that. So the first thing we might want to do is we want to be able to create a cat. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a thing called a constructor. A constructor does two things. My word. So a constructor creates an object and assigns values to the fields. Creates is not exactly right. It does create. It makes it, but the fancy word for it is instantiates. And that's just because we have this thing called cat, and we can create an instance of cat. So this is like the blueprint of cats. This is the model for cats. Then we can create actual specific ones that have an actual name, have an actual number of legs, have an actual tail length. Similarly to how you might, if you know anything about architecture, then you might have heard of blueprints. And blueprints describe how to build a house. And if you have a set of blueprints, you can use that set of blueprints to build a house. Then you could build another one exactly like that, and another one, and another one. Just picture complexes, where you see all the houses looking the same. They've been built from the same set of blueprints. And that's exactly what's happening here. I'm going to create one cat class, but then I'm going to be able to create multiple cats. So let's get back to our constructor. So a constructor is a method, and we want people to be able to create cats. So I'm going to make this constructor public. All right. And normally what I would do is I'd put a return type here. Hopefully you've done something with methods before. If you haven't, just play along and you'll get it. So normally I'd put a return type here. Void, if I wasn't going to give anything back. String, if I wanted to give a string back. Int, if I wanted to give an int back. Cat, if I wanted to give a cat back. But a constructor has no return type whatsoever, not even void. Void means nothing. So public, and the other special thing about a constructor is it always has the same name as the name of the class. That is important enough. I'm just going to comment there. So I'm going to say a constructor has no return type, not even void, and the same name as the class. All right, and now, so I want to put some parameters inside here, and parameters are values that we send to a method. And so if I look at the fields, my fields have got, I've got a name, I've got a number of lengths, I've got a tail length, and so it might be useful to pass all of those fields into the constructor. This is not something you always do. Some fields you are not going to get from the constructor, and you'll get information about them later on. But for now, I'm going to create a parameter for name, num legs, and tail length. So name is a string, so my parameter to come in must also be a string, otherwise they'll be incompatible. And I'm going to call it in name. And that's just basically telling me this is the value coming in, and it's the name. Then I'm going to go int in num legs, or null legs, num legs, and then double in tail length. All right, and now what I want to do is I want to take these values here and I want to put them into my fields. So I'm going to write the name of the field first. I'm going to say name equals, or not equals, equals in name. So what I've done is whatever the value coming in is in name, and it's going to take whatever's in name and it's going to assign it to name, so my field will have a value. And then I'm going to do the same with num legs equals in num legs, and then finally tail length. So tail length, and I'm messing that up. So tail length equals in tail length. And here I have a simple, straightforward parameterized constructor. Now, it is useful to be able to get information from our class. Okay, and normally we want to be able to at least get the fields and then perhaps set them. So I am not going to do all of these straight away. I'm going to do a getter, also called an accessor, and I'm going to do a setter, also called a mutator, for name, and then I'm going to ask you to attempt num legs and tail length by yourself. So the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to get name. I want to see what the value of name is. Once again, a public method. I want people to be able to use it. Name is a string, so in order for me to get the name, I need to be able to get a string. And this is the return type I was talking about here. And I'm going to call it getName. All right, and because I am getting information from the method, I'm not going to send it anything. All right, and all I'm going to do over here, it's a new keyword, return. And what return does is it sends the whatever's over here, it sends it back to whatever called this method. So I'm going to say return name. And I'm going to pause here for a bit, and I'm going to actually use these values. So I'm going to create a new class. And whenever you start working with objects like this, we work with multiple classes. What you might notice that's missing is we do not have a main method. So if I try and run this file, it's going to say it doesn't have a main method. And that is correct, because I don't want to run this class. This class here is used to store data and manipulate it, perhaps. So let's create a class where you can read from the method. Well, sorry, where we can have a main method, and I'm going to call it useCat. Okay, useCat. Let's create a main method. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cat. So cat, and let's just call it myCat, equals new cat. And you'll notice it's now complaining about this. And it says, constructor cat cannot be applied to given types. Required, string, int, double, found, no arguments. And what's that saying is if we go look at the constructor again, I am expecting, when I create a cat, I'm expecting a name, a string. I'm expecting an int. I'm expecting a double. But over here, I'm not giving it any of that. So I need to give it a string, an int, a double. I'm going to mess it up first time around, so don't type this. I'm going to say the number of legs is 4, because I'm not a monster. And then I'm going to say the tail length is 27.6. I have no idea what an appropriate tail length for a cat is. And then I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it Timothy. Alrighty. And now it's complaining. So it's saying incompatible types, int cannot be converted to string. What? But have a look. This first thing that I'm sending the constructor is a 4. And if I look at the constructor, the first thing it's looking for is a string. And that's what it's saying. It's saying, I can't turn an int into a string. It can't put 4, an int, into that string. So let's get it in the correct order. And the correct order is string, int, double. So let's start with the name, Timothy. Then let's give it an int. The num legs is 4 because we're not monsters. And then a tail length, 27.8, which is different to the last one, but it really doesn't matter. All right, and now you'll see there's no complaints, nothing there. It's just saying, hey, you're not using my cat. Let's fix that. There's not much a cat can do at the moment. The only thing a cat can do is it can give you the name. But before we do that, so essentially what happens is Timothy gets sent to the method cat. The method cat called the constructor is over here, and it puts Timothy into inName. So when we get to this line, it's not name equals inName, it's name equals Timothy. Because I've actually sent Timothy, so the actual parameter becomes Timothy wherever inName is. Similarly for num legs and tail length. So num legs, the actual value I'm sending is 4. And so the in num legs becomes 4, so it becomes num apologies, num legs equals 4. And similarly, tail length becomes 28.7 or 27.8. All right, let's see my method in action. So I can say myCat.getName. It's the only method that we've created. That's why it's in bold. It's like Java thinks, hey, maybe you want to use that one, or NetBeans, sorry. And this is going to be kind of useless. You might think when I run this that I'm going to see Timothy. Complaining, cat example. Oh, the reason cat example is complaining now is because of that method thing. So let me maybe just comment that out. Cat example has run its usefulness, so let's get rid of it. There we go. So my cat.getName, let's run it again. I'm getting nothing. And that is because this is what's called a typed method. A typed method returns a value. In this case, it returns a string, and the type is string. And for typed methods, return values. You want to do something useful with those. There are three things you can do. 1, display a typed method. 2, use a typed method in a condition. 3, use a, no, I've done a condition. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Or what I want to do is I want to assign it. Okay, and assigning it means giving it to a variable. So I'm going to use option 1 here. And I'm going to go system.out.println mycat. Why do I keep typing mycat.getName? And now if I run it, mycat.getName gives Timothy, but it's going to actually be printing it because I'm telling it to print. And there we go. Let's try an example of displaying a type method. Sorry, of using a type method in condition. So, let's say if mycat.getName length equals Timothy is 7. Let's make it not equal. What are we complaining about? Oh, I want equals. My bad. Sorry. If I'm testing to see if something's equals, I need 2 equal signs. A single equal sign makes something equal. So I'm getting the name, and then I'm getting the length of the name. And if it's equal to 5, which it isn't, system.out.let's go println short name, else let's print long name. And I've just realized that's stupid because if it's 4, it's going to print long name. So let's rather than, instead of checking if it's equal to 5, let's check if it's less than or equal to 5. Okay. And then let's assign it. And this is not going to be the world's most exciting thing. Let's just say string temp equals mycat.getName. And what I've done here is I've now used all 3 possibilities for what to do with the typed method. And if I run it, I'm going to get, so first thing it is I printed mycat.getName. So if I go to getName, getName returns name. And previously in the constructor, we put Timothy into name. So it's going to return Timothy. That's why we print Timothy. We're then going to get the name. We're going to check the length of it. The length of Timothy is 7, which is not less than or equal to 5. So it prints long name. And then we don't actually see what happens here because we've just assigned it. I could print temp out for you, but I don't think that's really necessary. Right, then so this is a getter or accessor. And let's talk about mutators. And I know we're heading long, but this won't take too much longer. So let's say public. And a mutator, all we're going to do is we're going to set a value. We're going to change a value, so I don't need to return anything. So I'm going to use a special keyword to say, hey, I don't want to return anything, void. Reminder that constructor is the only type of method that has no return type. If you don't want to return anything, you have to say void. Set name. Okay, and I can't set the name without some kind of information. So we're going to have a string. And I'm going to call it new name. And I'm just going to say name equals new name. All right, and what's going to happen when I call set name, I'm going to send it a value. That value is going to be put in there. It's going to print it. So let's go back to use cat. and let's try our mutator. And I'm going to say my cat dot set name, and this is going to be, let's change the name to I don't know, Greg. Okay, and let's just print out the name so we can see that it actually worked. So let's just print out my cat.getName. So previously, getName, the constructor set the name to Timothy. So when I printed getName, it printed Timothy. Now what I'm doing is I'm setting the name to Greg. So Greg goes into here. So it becomes name equals Greg. So in theory now, if I get the name again, it should now be Greg. So let's see if that works. Timothy, a long name, and there we have Greg. Right, your first exercise is to code getters and setters for the other two variables. Pause the video here because I'm going to type the code out, and then when you unpause it, you can take a look. So pause now. Okay, and now what I've done is I've created the other four accessors and mutators. You know what, let me just quickly over here, I'll just throw a comment here. This was a setter or mutator. And then, yeah, so there is numlegs, accessor and mutator, get tail length, accessor and mutator. Hopefully you got that correct.